Continuing with the style form for the final two pieces, the color and font picker. Moving on to the color picker, the UI for this component is relatively simple. We accept a color value and provide a callback whenever the color value changed. These are the pieces that make up the component. 3 sliders for picking a color channel, the text field, and a label whose background color is used to preview the selected color. Let's take a quick peek at Color Customizer before we proceed. I can spend a while discussing the Color Customizer, but there is really very little to discuss. We create a round thumb image and place it on an editable slider component. Honestly, this code is a bit of a mess and should have been in the theme. But because of the special nature of this form, I couldn't place this stuff in the theme, so I had to do it here. That's a major reason for this method, so the code would be a bit more bearable. Every time a channel color changes, we update the color with a new value and shift the channel color into place for integration with the other current channels in the current color. Let's take a second and check out Update Color. Update Color just sets the color into place and calls on success for us. It also updates the text field with the right hex color. An important piece is that Update Color uses acquire lock and release lock, which we need to guard against recursive access. When we invoke setText to update the hex value, when the user drags the slider, it triggers a text change event. But since lock isn't acquired by the text event, it won't do the change. The same is true the other way around. If it wasn't, we'd run into an infinite loop where changing the text updates the slider and vice versa to infinity. Speaking about the hex text field, we acquire the lock here too and update the various channels as needed. The method is relatively simple. Let's move on to the font editor, which is in some regards even more elaborate than the color editor. This starts with code that tries to calculate the font size. Once a font is loaded, its size is determined in pixels, not in millimeters. But we want to size it in millimeters as that's more portable. So we need some way to infer that. Here we loop over the values and try to infer the millimeter value for a given pixel value from the list. Appropriately, we will pick the right string from the list in the picker. Moving on, we have the buttons within the button group that allow us to pick the right style for the resulting font. We have the text preview, obviously, but that's relatively simple. When we pick a size, we need to update the size all around appropriately and deliver it to the callback method. And finally, we have one huge action listener that handles all of the buttons to give each one its right style. So a button for bold will apply the right font and so forth, with italic, etc. There are probably more elegant ways to do this, but honestly, fonts are always a huge pain, regardless of what you choose.